Hi friends, I hope your Wednesday is off to a good start. What we're going to do this morning is do our read, write, spell routine for our new rocket words or our sight words, also called our high frequency words for this week. Then we're going to do that same read, write, spell routine for the sounds of or, which we learned about yesterday. And then finally, I'm going to preview a book for you that you will find down below in your assignments called No More Mort the Short. And then I'm going to ask you to read that 2 times on your own. So let's get started with reviewing last week's rocket words or last week's high frequency words. Okay, and remember these are words where we see them a lot in text, so it's really helpful when we memorize them so that we're focusing on understanding what we're reading and not just decoding or not just figuring out what the words are, but also they're often rule breaker words. So it's important that we memorize them because when we go to sound out parts, it won't work with what we've learned. So I'm going to show you a card from last week and I would like you to read the word out with me. Remember, we should see these and just know them, so we're going to go quick. Ready? First word is house, wood, new, grew. Right, those are all the cards I have. I think those were all our words. This week we have a few new ones. And I want to introduce these to you with our read, write, spell routine. So you will need a pencil and a piece of paper. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect blank paper. Any kind of paper, if you have lines, that's best. You can just draw them on. So if you don't have those tools, pause, go ahead and get those right now. Pencil, piece of paper. All right. So you should have your pencil, you should have your piece of paper. And families, if you're listening, part of the reason we do this is connection, not just between seeing the visual connection and the auditory, hearing what it is, but also that kinesthetic, so writing the word, and then also hearing yourself say it out loud as you spell it and as you read it out loud. So super important that you're doing this part with me, just like we would be doing in class. So pencil, piece of paper, I'm going to show you the word and I'm going to read it. Then I want you to read it, write it, and spell it. Remember, read, write, spell. So I'll give you an example. Our first word is great. So you and I are going to look at this word. You're not going to look at my mouth. You're going to look at the word and say, great. Then you're going to write it. I've got my whiteboard, but any paper at home works. And once you've written the word, you're going to spell it out loud to yourself. Make sure your letters match mine. G-R-E-A-T. Great. And it's helpful too if you point to each letter as you spell it. G-R-E-A-T. Great. All right, so read it, write it, spell it. Remember, it's okay to pause if you need more time to write. First word, great. Read it, write it, spell it. Next word is no. No. K-N-O-W. Make sure you write it. Next rocket word, sound. S-O-U-N-D. Sound. There. T-H. E-I-R. And this is the kind of there that means it belongs to someone or it's theirs. Like, hey, that is their backpack. Not, look over there. There. Okay. Last one. Warm. W-A-R-M. Warm. Right. Go back if you need extra time to read, write, spell those. These are your rocket words this week. So these words spread out just like we get every week for homework. try and see how quickly you can read them. Time yourself if you would like to, okay? I love getting these pictures. It's just like I'm pulling it out of your homework packet to see the progress you're making throughout the week of being able to see it and just know it and read it quickly. All right, so now that we have talked about our sight words for this week, I want to switch gears and think about the OR sound for the R-controlled vowel or bossy R. So yesterday we talked about how bossy R, he likes to boss around vowels and change their sound, but he's polite. He lets them go first. So as you can see, our vowel O comes first and then the R, and together they make the OR sound. Well, I wanted to show you a little bit closer. This looks like the other card I showed you, and it's a picture of the vegetable corn. Will you say that sound out loud with me, that word? Ready? Corn. And we hear that OR sound in the word corn, and it's spelled just like we talked about yesterday. C-O-R-N. Corn. But there are 3 ways that we can spell that OR sound. OR is just one of them. So in order to practice how to make that OR sound, or the different ways that we see it in reading and in writing, I want us to kind of do the read, write, spell routine, but with these 3 sounds. So we're going to start out, and this is something we've also done in class. You're going to use that pencil and paper that you have in front of you. Make sure you have enough room to be writing each of these sounds 5 times. We're going to do 3 rows. I'm going to flip over to this side of my whiteboard, which friends you are familiar with. You don't need dotted lines like this. Any kind of paper will do. But I'm going to write the letters OR to start with. And as I am writing, I'm going to make the sound OR. So I'm not going to write OR and say OR as I'm writing. As I'm writing, I'm going to say OR. Okay? So 5 times. I'm going to do it, and then you can pause and do it with me, okay? So, OR, 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 OR. Okay, notice how I'm trying to leave finger spaces in between. Probably could have done a little bit more, but they're not all squished up right next to each other. I can tell each of these is its own OR. Okay, another way that we can see the OR sound in writing and in reading is O-A-R. Now we learned last week that AR says R, but this sound is still OR. And that spelling again is O-A-R. So I'm going to write that 5 times, and if I run out of room, I'm just going to go down to the next line. Does not matter. But I'm going to say the sound OR that these letters together make. So you ready? OR, 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 OR. And you don't need to go fast. You can go slow. All right. Make sure you've done that too. Go ahead and pause if you haven't. O-A-R also says OR. Okay, and the last way that we can see the OR sound in reading and writing is O-R-E. OR. O-R-E also says OR. So I'm going to do that in these 2 bottom rows down here. O-R-E, but as I'm writing it, I'm not going to say the letters. I'm going to make the sound, so I can take my time. OR, 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 OR. If you haven't done this yet on your paper, go ahead, pause the video and write OR spelled O-R-E 5 times. Okay. All right. I know it's a little bit repetitive, but it's really good practice to help us remember that we can see and write the sound OR in these 3 different ways. Usually, we do see it as OR, and today we're going to do a little bit of practice with reading words that have that OR or sound. So the story I have for you that you will find in your assignments below is called No more Mort the Short. And just like last week when we read Carly in the Dark, there's no need to print this out, okay? Just scroll through it, read it like we would read a book in class, okay? And the reason why we want to read this, probably not a very difficult book, but it has the OR sound and the letters OR in words, and so we can practice looking for that and reading it in context. So let's read the title together. You ready? No more Mort the Short. So take a look at this cover. I see two mice who are running together, and I see another mouse that's running behind them. Kind of wondering what this story will be about. Remember, as readers, before we start reading, we look at the cover, we read the title, we start asking ourselves questions, maybe making predictions. So, what do I think this book might be about? I'm looking kind of close at that mouse in the back, because these two seem happy and fine, but take a look at him. How does he look? How do you think he might be feeling? Talk to someone next to you. He's kind of sweating. Doesn't really have a smile on his face. Interesting. Okay. So, as you begin reading, families, especially if you noticed last week that your kiddo is having a little bit of a hard time, you can start off your first reading as a choral read, which means that we read together. And so it would sound like this. Slowly. Mort is smaller than most of the children in his class. And if that even is a little bit too difficult, for this first reading you can do an echo read. So you would read the first sentence slowly, pointing to the words, or having your kiddo point to the words as you read them, and then they will echo you, and you can break up sentences if you need to. Our goal is to eventually be reading fluently. So that means quickly, at a good pace, and changing our voice to make it sound like we're having a conversation. Okay? Mort is smaller than most of the children in his class. We're not there on the first read, that's okay. So after you go through and read the first time, either on your own kiddos independently or together with a parent doing a choral reading or an echo read, I want you to pause and I want you to answer, 2 questions and then retell. And I wrote the questions in the assignment description. So first question is, how was Mort different from the other kids in his class, or the other mice in his class? And what was Mort good at? Or what did he feel like he was good at? I'm sure he was good at a lot of things. And then finally, I want you to practice retelling this story to someone at home who you read with or who you read to. Or just practice retelling out loud to yourself. Remember, when we retell, we don't include every single detail. It's the most important parts. And because this is a fiction story, we want to hit the beginning, middle, and end. The most important events at the beginning, the middle, and the end. If there was a problem, what did they do to solve it? Well, what was the problem, and then what did they do to solve it? The second time, you go ahead and get ready to read Mort the Short. We're focusing more on a deeper understanding, but really we want to practice that fluency. So if you found that the first time you read this, it was pretty easy for you, there weren't a lot of words that you struggled with, I want you to do what we did last week. I want to challenge you to pick a voice or a style to read it and read it out loud in that way. So last week I think I said maybe try reading it like a pirate. You might try reading it like you're really cold, or maybe like you're scared, or maybe like you're really angry. I know that the story isn't telling you to read like those things, but it's good practice to see, can I switch up my voice and kind of play around if I'm really able to read these words easily. So that is a challenge for you if you find that this is a pretty easy read for you. All right. Please let me know if you have any questions. I miss you guys and look forward to seeing your faces soon.